Metzia, Daf Nun Bava Modale 56a. We are in the about 6 or 7 lines from the top of the page. And I don't know if you got my emails yesterday, but I did send you a summary of the sugya till now. We have to have the summary. We have to know who says what in the sugya, because the Gemara is going to sort of repeat it today with a different perspective on matters. But for now, I'll just give a small, shorter summary. Afterwards, we'll give the longer one. In summary, what did we talk about yesterday? The topic yesterday was, to sum it in one line, how strict are Rabanan when it comes to their own halachas. When Chachamim establish a halacha, is it as strict as the Doraisa? Because in our Mishnah, we saw that it was. We saw in our Mishnah that if a person has Demai is a rabbinical idea, is a Dorabanan, right? And yet the Mishnah said that even though mice are taken from Demai, the whole obligation to take mice from Demai, which is stuff you bought from somebody that has the title AH. Some people have PhD, some of them have, I don't know, MSW has AH. Am Haaretz, you got it. Am Haaretz. So that guy who doesn't really know what he's doing, or doesn't care, if you buy from him, Rabanan said you have to take Meiser. Rabanan took it all the way so seriously. Not only when you take if you eat from the Terumas Meiser of Demai, not only you have to pay back, you have to pay back with Chomesh. You have to pay back with Chomesh with the extra fifth, which is really fourth. That means that even the extras of the Oraisa, Chachamim took it all the way down to the T, down to the last detail. And we said, yes. Rabbi Lazar was surprised about it, and then came Shmuel, and he said, Rav Nachman on behalf of Shmuel, you can see it in the chart here, I'll put it online too, and he said, no, listen, yep. In other words, that Rabbi Meir, we assume it's Rabbi Meir. Why? Just like Rabbi Meir regarding a get said that if a person brings a get from Yahupitzville, North Dakota, a change from south to north, did you notice? Yeah, even from North Dakota, and then over there, the rabbinate is not so knowledgeable, maybe, I don't know. And therefore, he has to say before when he brings the get from the place over there, where people are not so in the business. And he did not say before which is only the Rabanan idea to say before because the get looks otherwise okay. And if he didn't say that and the one got married, the kids are mamzairim mamish. They're, shall I say the B word, or it's not a nice word to say? Baruch doesn't let me say it, so I'm not. Starts with the B, ends with a D. Okay, it's like Yoshke. Anyway, mamzer is a B.
No,
B-A-S-T-A.
Absolutely not. A B is a child born out of wedlock. That's a B.
No, you're right. No, it's not the same standard. It's true. A child born out of wedlock, and the people who live in sin in China, people who live in sin and they have relations, is not a mamzer. That's true. A mamzer is a kid from an Eshish and another man, or many other historical. Okay, leave that alone. Okay, thank you. Okay, good. So now, wait a second. So you see, Rabbi Meir said that we are so strict and we stick but to our guns when it comes to Gittin. Must be it's the same thing also regarding Trumas Umayis. Okay, very nice. Rav Sheshes came with a question. Rav Sheshes asked, excuse me, you see that when it comes to the quality, that's the word, the quality of pidyon of Meiser, Meiser Sheni, when it comes to real Meiser, the Oraisa, when I know 100% that this is real Meiser from real Tevel, the quality has to be very specific. Only silver to what? Only copper to silver. No silver to silver, no copper to copper, and not silver to downgrade it to copper. And yet, by Meiser Sheni, which is Demai, the Dorabanan has a much watered down version, and then we say you could do whatever you want. Silver, copper, free country, do whatever you feel like. So you see, well, and this is Rabbi Meir who's mentioned in that Mishnah. How do you deal with that? So you see, it's not as strict in the Rabanan as is strict in the Oraisa. The Rabanan version of the same Avera is not dealt with as seriously, excuse me, answers Rav Yosef, and that's exactly where we are. You can see it in the chart, and you can see it in the Gemara, and that's where we're holding almost. Rav Yosef says that there's difference. I got a little bit mixed up here yesterday, and I'm not feeling too guilty about it because it is an issue in the Meforshim, Maram Shif. Generally, both things I said were right. Meaning, Rav Meir says as follows, and I'll now include everything, and I think now I know what I'm talking about, but for a change. It says Rav Meir like this. When you talk about pidyon, which is the quality of things, yeah. In other words, what kind of coin should you be mechalal and what? That is, how will I say it? That's a luxury. Because lemaisa, if you're poida from silver to copper, the pidyon is there. It's just not the right way to do things. It's not mechubad. It's not nice to take from silver to downgrade it to copper. Yeah, he got the gold medal. You're giving him the silver Olympics, and also it gets more rusty. Silver. There's just no point in it. But it's not really something that's b'di'eved a problem, right? And therefore, over there he was lenient. But she'enken, when you talk about eating either Meiser Sheni outside Yerushalayim, which is a lav d'oraisa. If you eat Meiser Sheni not in the right place, in Mamila, right outside the old city, yeah, you're over in lav d'oraisa. And when you eat what? Trumas Meiser, even b'mezid, yuchad misa b'dei shamayim. When you eat it, yeah, when you eat it by mistake, that's a more severe thing to eat it. Therefore, when it comes to eating, Mimele, then Rabbi Meir was as machmir as he is Doraisa Rabanan, and now we beautifully close the circle to our Mishnah. As our Mishnah said that a guy who eats Trumas Meiser by mistake, he ate it. He didn't do the pidyon right. Once it's in your mouth, ooh, poison, dangerous, macholis asuros. And therefore, that happy note, mister, you'll have to give chomesh, even though it's only d'mai, the same as by gittin we're machmir, so too by eating d'mai of any type. I was right on both accounts. Rashi says mufurish, both meiser sheni and trumas meiser, any type of d'mai once eaten, oh, that's bigger business than pidyon. Because the pidyon works. It's not the nice way to be paid. Don't downgrade it to nechosh. That the Rabanan can, turn a blind eye. But when you eat something that's awesome, the Rabanan, no, they said no. It's treated as bad as the Raisa, which means you'll have to bring an extra chomish besides, but in case of truma, you'll have to bring an extra chomish if you ate the trumas meiser because you ate. And eating is worse than hoda. That's all. We just summarized yesterday's shiur, and it's important. Please keep the notes because we're going to revisit it later. Be'ezras Hashem. I'd like to make a blessing to Hashem Yisborach Baruch Atah Adonai. Of D'mai. D'mai is all the Rabanan. D'mai is the Rabanan invent. Eating D'mai depends. Eating D'mai of Trumas Meiser is always Osir anywhere in the universe because you're Israel. Your name is not Yaakov. That's your friend, not you. You're not a Kohen. And eating Meiser Sheni of D'mai outside the walls of Yerushalayim is not an Issa D'oraisa, but Issa D'Rabanan. It's the equivalent of L'tucha Lechol B'Sharecha, but Mid'Rabanan. Okay? Each one to its own. Meiser Sheni, you don't add the fifth, only on Truma. No. On Meiser Sheni, you add it, don't get confused. It's confusing. Meiser Sheni, you add the fifth on your poda. If you, right, you transfer the kedusha of your grapes onto the money, now you want the what? You want to transfer that. You want to add. You want to transfer from your own fruit onto your own money, you have to add the fifth. The grapes are worth 20, you have to take a 25 shekel coin. That's when you poda, then take the 25 shekel coin, spend it in Yerushalayim on a steak. Okay, that's Meiser Sheni. It's confusing, my friends. Truma, there's no pidyon in Truma. Once you give Truma to the coin, or you give a Truma Meiser to the coin, then there's no pidyon. Truma has no pidyon. You can never redeem Truma. Once it's rendered Truma, defined as Truma, no way back. Pidyon is only by Meiser Sheni and Revai. By Truma, where does Chomish come into play? When I mistakenly ate it. I didn't know it belongs to Yaakov or to any other friends. My friend Naftali, maybe I'll go to his house and eat Truma by mistake. Don't throw up. Just give the amount in shape of fruit plus a Chomish. So it just plays in different places. Yeah, but Lamaisa Chomish is there in both. That's all. But eating is always mechayiv you more. That's all. Right? Nice. Now, continues the Gemara. Yeah. Detanya, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines from the top of the page. Line starts with the word ba'achilosoi. Detanya. We're going to prove now that when it comes to eating Meiser Sheni or any other D'mai, or Meiser Sheni D'mai or any other D'mai, then the Meiser, then Rabbi Meir was strict with Dmai as much as he was strict on the Doraisa. I'll just give you here I'm sorry that on screen it doesn't come out so nicely. If anybody tells you, by the way, that in the past, in the times of the Talmud, people would just, everyone would just grow his own, fruit in the garden and there was no rich commercial world, it's nonsense. There were 4 stages, until it got to your plate. When we talk about chitin, there was a mashpia, not a chabadnik. A mashpia is a person who was a real super wholesaler. He would give it to the siton. How do you say wholesaler in modern Hebrew? Oh, where's my ulpan when I need it? Wholesaler, modern Hebrew, sitonai. Sitonai, shuka sitonai. Siton is the wholesaler. He sells it to the chenvani, which is in modern Hebrew, is also a shopkeeper, a retailer, and he sells it to the balabais, who's the customer. I even spelled it right by mistake, yeah? So then, okay. No, you're not happy with my spelling? Customer. So, mashpia of Chabad. What's a mashpia? Okay. I'm talking the commercial world. The kids are, so, okay. So here you have a mashpia, a sitonai, a wholesaler, who sells it to the shopkeeper, who sells it to you, a little guy. Some people, of course, they buy straight from the sitonai. They're not. That's generally okay. It's not even complicated. It's just the way things work. Let's go. Let's just continue. I would even close that if you don't mind, because the sun's in my eyes. Okay, weiter. So now, the Tanya. Lo hitiru limko dmai. Let me ask you a silly question, which is not silly. Before we continue, I'm not allowed to eat dmai. It's an issa Rabanan. Well, look, I keep the Rabanan. I even light Hanukkah candles. So I'm not allowed to eat dmai that I bought from the guy who's an Amoritz. Can I sell dmai to you and can I sell dmai to other people? Well, I would say there's an isser called in English, lifnei iver. Did I say it nicely? Lifnei iver. Of course I can't sell treif and I can't sell dmai. On the other hand, wait a second. I would say the other way. If you see that do you think I'm a Yerushalayim person? I hope. So let's say I sell you fruit. You say, oh, Akiva is selling us fruit. We assume he took Meiser. Right? In other words, so maybe I shouldn't sell you because you assume I took Meiser. Or maybe just the other way around. There is an opposite svara here. Let's see. Lo hitiru limkor dmai. The only person they allowed to sell dmai, yes, to sell dmai, even if he has long payas and a big black kippah and he knows the entire shas, the only person is allowed to sell dmai ela lesiton bilvad. I mean, for sure, the mashpia is Amoritz. A siton is a person who buys from any mashpil. Now that siton is a wholesaler. He sells in bulk, big bulk, and therefore that siton, people know he buys from any mashpim. He buys from Tnuva. He buys from this kibbutz where they eat on Yom Kippur, Chazir. He buys from all kinds of places. Maybe also buys from Yesodot, from Haredi places. He buys from all over. And therefore, he is allowed to sell dmai to the customers. Why? Because the customers know, if I would sell you fruit from my kitchen, you'd say, Akiva is religious, and he's probably selling us something kosher, a small amount of grapes that he bought in a kosher place or grew in his garden. But if the person with long payas and a very Yerushalayim sells you, and you know that it comes from many sources, including the kibbutz where they eat chazer and Yom Kippur, right? You know he's not controlling all the different mashpim. It's huge amounts. It's out of his control. That's why some mashgichim say from the very big store, it's very hard to buy things without taking meister, and therefore he's allowed to sell it to the other people because they already know that he probably got it from Amaratzim. They don't assume he's selling them kosher. That's why we can rely that the onus is on them, because derech ha'olam to say the guy has big payas and beard and really kosher. He is himself the Baba Sali and Ravadi Yosef, not just a picture on the wall. But because we know he buys from many people of all types and shapes and colors, including Amiratzim, mainly we customers know, be it the Chenvani, be it the Balabais, we know that he is not controlling what he sells, and we are going to take Meiser at home. Mainly, if I know that they take Meiser, if I am the person selling as a sitoin, I'm allowed to sell it, even though it's Dmai. And Dmai are not Machmir. Ubalabais, however, Balabais, what happened? The customer, you don't even see him online. The last guy on the list is a balabais, me. I'm not a wholesaler. I'm not anything. Let's say I want to sell my friend in Kollel a few fruit. I need to make a quick buck. I have some extra fruit at home. Will you buy a few lemons for me? Then, now, depends. Bein kach ubein kach means, if I'm Baal Abais and I'm a frum guy and I sell you a small amount of lemons or anything or grapes, do you assume it's gemeisered? Yes. Look, I'm frum. The amount is small. It's probably something which I bought, something that I grew in my garden. If I sell it to you, it's probably you assume that it's good. Therefore, if it's really Dmai, I'm not allowed to sell it to you because I'm machshil you. I'm causing you to sin. That's lifnei iver, right? Now, the chiddush of Rabbi Meir is bein kach ubein kach. What happens if I'm a Baal Abais and I actually sell you, all of a sudden I come to Kollel with a huge amount. Whew! All of a sudden I sell you lemons. I start a whole mechira over here. One off. I'm a Baal Abais. I'm not a siton. I don't get it from any sitonim. But lemaisa, I sell you in big amounts, big bulk. All of a sudden, big stuff, big amount, and therefore says Rabbi Meir at that point, Baal Abais, even though he sells a big amount, so on one end you can say people would say, listen, such a big amount, he didn't grow it in his garden. He got it from somewhere else. Who is that somewhere else, right? So maybe people will be suspicious, and therefore I am allowed to sell them Dmai because they will be suspicious and take Meiser. It's all the question, on whose court is the ball? Is it my Achrais or will you already take Achrais? Says Rabbi Meir, no. Says Rabbi Meir, because he's a Baal Abais, he's a little guy, he's just a small, not even shopkeeper. He's a guy who works in high tech or is in Kollel. He's not in the business, and he's frum, and people assume that everything by him is kosher, even though he strangely sells a big amount, which indicates he got it from somewhere else. Still, Rabbi Meir says, I machmir, and you have to take Ma'aser. Voila. Here we see, one second, no questions. Bechlal, you are very much here. The Chachamim say no. Echad the Siton, Vechad Baal Abais. Whether Siton, the wholesaler, or the Baal Abais, the shopkeeper, or even the customer, Moicher, he can sell, V'sholech l'chavero, he can send it to your friend, V'noson b'matono, the Dmai. You can give him Dmai of any shape and form, as a matono, shlichus, whatever you want. Ve'ena choishesh. Why ena choishesh? Because the person knows that you are a little guy, you are a retailer or less. So even though you sold a big amount, he still assumes, he still is choishesh. Who's choishesh? The customer is choishesh. The customer will take meiser when it gets to his kitchen. Therefore, the one giving it, I'm not choishesh. The ball is in the court of the very, very guy at the very end of the line. Yeah. In other words, let's say, okay, let's just put it here. Let's continue the chart, and I'm sorry for the people in line. 1 second, and then I'll hear your questions. Let's say this customer selling it to another customer. Stam, he's a regular person. There's a question, or even the chen when he sells to the customer. When the Siton sells, everyone knows that the Siton may be the biggest frume guy. He's Mamshu B'Sra Salanter. We don't know which mashpim he gets it from. Hashpa or he gets it from Bed Hashpa. Maybe he buys from the kibbutz, from the mashav, from I don't know who gets Shomer Tzayir. I don't know where. So whoever buys from him, I can sell them Dmai. I can, because they know that I'm getting it from non-kosher sources, or most probably. Mashenkin, if the customer 1 sells to customer B, then it's a machloikis. Why? On one hand, if he sells big amount, if a customer sold big amount, if he sold in big amount to the other customer or the chenvani to the final customer, here's a question. On one hand, chenvani indicates what? Indicates a credibility. He's a frum guy, and he's not getting from other sources. It's his own homegrown thing. That's when it's a small amount. When it's a big amount, but it's a chenvani, that's dodim l'chan u'lechan. On one end is the chenvani, so I would say probably people would think that anything he sells is okay because of the little guy. But when he sells big amount, they would say, where did he get such a huge amount from? It's very nice. He has a nice big black kippah. We know you're a Shammai, but such a big amount that didn't grow in his garden. That came from somewhere else. We don't know where the somewhere else comes from. That's the question. What would they think, the people at the end of the line? And therefore, the question is, if they will be suspicious, then he can sell them Dmai, because they will be suspicious. They go take meister on the shaish in the kitchen. But if they will not be suspicious, they'll eat it like fish eating the bait, then he's not allowed to. And that's Rabbi Meir. What did you want from this whole? How did we get here? Oh, that's a proof of Rabbi Meir. We see that Rabbi Meir, when it comes to eating, as opposed to pidyon, On all types of maasros that are involved in Dmai, the Dmai version of all the maasros, says Rabbi Meir, you have to be makmir, and you don't eat it b'shum oifen. That's what we proved. And now we're going to ask a question, and actually now you can ask your question too. No, he was first. Was first for sure. I'm sorry. Yeah. We need a referee here. Let's continue. Basic Ravina. Ravina is now going to challenge. Oh, Ravina is going to challenge. If you need the whiteboard, let me know. Don't be shy. Basic Ravina. Halokech min anachtom. Question from a Mishnah, and this Mishnah discusses bread, a bakery. You come to the bakery, beautiful smell, you know, the aroma, and you buy some bread, some fresh bread from the nachtoim. That bread wasn't meisered. It has a very old debt which was never paid from, not challah, from the time of the, unless it talks about challah, actually doesn't make a difference, but it says meiser here. A person who buys the bread from the nachtoim, and nachtoim, by the way, is the retailer. Nachtom by bread, yeah, is like the chenvani. When it comes to bread world, nachtom is the chenvani, and that's called the paltar. Paltar is the wholesaler, paltar is the wholesaler, and the chenvani and the nachtom is like the retailer. So the nachtom, that nachtom is the bakery. He buys from a lot of big bakeries. He buys from Angels, from Berman's, from the Ganit. He buys from different bakeries. Okay. So now, Meisi Vavina, halokech min anachtom. The person buys bread from the nachtom. He doesn't know whether meiser was taken. Meiser min hachama ala tzoinenes, min tzoinenes ala chama. Let's say some bread are fresh and hot, hot off the press, out of the oven, yeah. And some of them are cold and, you know, already a bit cold and staling, yeah. No preservatives back then. So now the one that's significantly nicer is a hot one. You can still take meiser. Let's say I bought 10 loaves of bread. Some of them are cold, and some of them are hot and fresh, which means some are nicer than the other. You're allowed to take meiser even from the good one on the bad one. In other words, let's say there are 10, let's make it the very childish picture of meiser, like children think, yeah? I have 10 loaves of bread, I have to take one as meiser. Just leave it at that, okay? So now I can take the hot one and give it to the Kohen or give it to the Levi, Meiser Rishon, and what? And the rest I'll eat. Of course, I'm giving the good one. The Chiddush is even the other way around. I can take the older Ichi one, as long as it's edible, and give him the bad one and keep for myself the good ones. That I'm allowed to do. It's not a nice thing to do. It could be even in the Isser, but I'm yoitze. The Meiser is Meisered, and the rest are kosher to eat. Now, the Chiddush is, ve'afilu midfusim harbe divrei Rabbi Meir. Oh, what happens if I have different defusim, have different shapes of bread? In the same bakery, I have some breads that are, some breads that are, let's say, that are that shaped, and some of them are shaped like a circle. Some of them are shaped like, I don't know, triangle. Hamantashen already. They have different types of bread. I'm allowed to take, I bought all 10 of them. I'm allowed to take from this one to take it as meiser, and the moitzi also, in order to exempt the other ones that are the triangle ones. Why not? Who cares about round the triangle? Well, back then, because we know the guy buys from Angel, and you know what? Maybe also buys from a very nice bakery that's run by a very nice guy. His name is Nimrod, and he eats chazer and Yom Kippur, and he lives in Tel Aviv. Okay, so what? So the bakery, he gets bread from all over. By the way, today, you know, because of there are many issues, you can't buy non-kosher bread. B'chlal. I'm not going that way. I'm saying, let's say there are no other halachic issues, only the issue is meiser. So now, that's interesting. I'm buying in the same shopping bag from the bakery, I'm buying now things of different shapes, which, mark my words, in red, they may or may not be from different bakeries. Maybe they're all from the same bakery. Maybe Angel's bread is all kosher, and they make different types. Maybe they're all from Nimrod's bakery in the Kibbutz Shomer HaTzair, Treif, and they're all the same, but maybe not. Maybe one of them is Bedatz Eda Charedis, and the other ones are from Nimrod, the Chazer eater. In other words, there are all kinds of options over here, which we're going to discuss. And yet, Divrei Rabbi Meir says you may take meiser in case of dmai. Yeah, you may take meiser from who? From one type, one shape of bread on the other shape of bread. I'm taking this one, giving it to the Levi, yeah, in order to eat those ones, and that is okay. Whoa, a Pandora box was just opened. And now the Gemara is going to say, is that what Rabbi Meir says I'm allowed to do when it comes to Dmai? Uh-oh, that is bad news. Why is it bad news? Explains the Gemara. There are two issues here. One issue we're okay with, one issue we're absolutely not okay with. The fact you take from the bad bread, you took the worst bread in the bag and you gave it to the, let's say, Levi or Oni, whatever, yeah, and the nice ones you kept for yourself, that's not nice. That's not fair, but it's allowed b'di'evid. That I accept is b'di'evid functional. That's the word. Which means the other bread are kosher to be eaten. They're not tevel, they're chulin, the kosher. How do you know that it's okay to do b'di'evid? Yeah, Kidal Biloi, it's a statement of Rabbi Loi, which we also saw at the end of Bava Basra, I think. Yeah, it's in many places. How do you know that if a person takes bread or cherry tomatoes or bananas or even grapes, the raisa, and you took from the bad grapes, as long as they're edible, you took the worst grapes in the cluster in the pile, and you gave them to the Kohen or the Levi, to the Oni, and you left the nice ones to yourself? How do you know shetruma soy truma? How do you know that b'di'evid? Of course, you're not a nice guy, but how do you know that that works? Because you gave him lower quality. Maybe it just doesn't work. Maybe the rest of the fruit are still not exempt. Maybe they're what happens if you eat something that truma wasn't given from? Misa b'nei shamayim. Maybe it's still tevel. Tevel, maybe it is. No, it's okay, says Rabbi Loi. B'di'evid, it's okay. Shenema, it says in the Torah precisely not to do it, but that's why you can do it. What do I mean? It says, "V'loitisu olav chet." Don't carry your chet with you. Which means if you take the good one, you take the nice grape, the nice watermelon, or no, give that to the Kohen, to the Levi, to whoever, then you won't have a sin. Which means what? Which means then your truma will be without sin. Mashma, that if you take the bad one, you will have a sin. What does that mean? Think deep, says the Gemara. Im eino kodesh, if I took the bad grape, and what we're trying to insinuate over here, that if I took the bad grape, then Meiser wasn't taken, it's not functional, then I didn't do anything. It's like a theater show. It's like a joke. It's nothing. Yeah? It's nothing. It's like a man marrying his sister, as we saw. It's not even a havamina. Nothing happened. If so, nesias chet lama. Why is that called sinning? The fact that you called a sinner if you gave the bad grape, yeah, the 10 bad grapes to part of the other 90, that means there was real truma. Otherwise, you just didn't do anything. The Torah is telling you that truma was the wrong kind of truma. That means the truma functioned. It's just not the right way of doing it. Yeah. What if it's the Kohen marries a grusha? Terrible avera. It's kiddushin. If that's kiddushin, psul. But they're married. If a man marries his sister without doing it, he didn't touch her. Just stam. It's a joke. It's a theater show. To shtus. Yeah. Nothing happened. You can't say these are bad marriage. It's not a marriage. Yeah. And therefore, mikan. From here we see the Torah, ro alayofa. From here we know that a person who gives truma the bed, he takes the bed and separates that and gives it to the Kohen alayofa, and he wants to stay with the good stuff. He's a schoite. So far, so good. So I have two issues here. You took, let's say, the bad round one, the round one that's not nice, the fichi, right? And you want to pattern the other ones, the triangle ones, okay? The fact that this is good, that this is bad, and they are good, I can look, that's okay. I mean, okay, not the best thing to do, could be the mamash alav, extra, but the meister, it works, okay, good. And therefore, no problem. Dmai? No, even in real meister that would work. Ella, but the problem is, afilu mitfusim harbe, that I don't like, says Gemara. The fact that you're taking from this questionable batch on the other questionable batch, that is bad news. Why? Because we don't know what the story is. We don't know who's kosher and who's not kosher. Let's say this is kosher. Let's have both options. Let's say, yeah, Lechush, says the Gemara, we should be concerned two opposite concerns. Dilma, maybe. Osila frushi min chiyuv al ptur, umin ptur al chiyuv. Okay, let's start the other way. Min chiyuv al ptur. Let's say this one. Let's say the one you actually took and you separated. You took it out of the thing and you gave it to Mr. Cohen. Yeah. Okay. You gave you gave this one to Mr. Cohen. Okay. That's one you separated. And with that, you want to patter, you want to exempt those and say, hey, I gave my bit, I gave my ice, I gave my meister. Now I can eat them. Yummy, yummy. Nice croissants. I can eat them all. There are two potentially opposite bad news problems. If this is really kosher, meaning, let's say this came from Badatz. In the case that this came from Badatz, the Charedis, Meiser was taken, everything is good. What are you doing here, really? You're taking something that's not chayiv b'meiser, is potter for meiser, in order to exempt those. That doesn't work. You can only take something that's chayiv b'meiser in order to take other people that are chayiv b'meiser. This is your own. This is Nimrod. This is Nimrod's bakery. Nimrod's bakery in Kibbutz Ein Charod. Yeah, Nimrod, he's about to commit suicide with a new government and move to Germany. But before he moves to Germany with a new Dark Ages government that we have here, like Iran, it's becoming. So Nimrod's moving. Before he's moving, he's selling his chalas to people. So now Nimrods are not gemeistered, right? Okay, possible. We don't know. If this is Badat and this is Nimrod, you know what happens? You took from something that is not chayv b'meiser to part to those who are chayv b'meiser. Yeah, can we do that? Somebody's not chayv can't be motzi one who's chayv. You go to hospital. Can it 5 years old be motzi you kiddush? Don't think so. Yeah, I'm giving an example out of line, but it's a good example. In other words, if they're not chayv b'meiser, there has to be a ratio over here. There has to be 1 out of 10. All of them are chayev, and all for one for all. 1/10 is given. But if this is not in the story, him and his round friends are all bedat the charedis from angel, and they're not pattering them. No. And what about the other way? Hoopa! What about the other way? Also bad news from another point. Let's say the one I took was bedat, and these are from Nimi Nimrod. Yeah. Let's say the one I took is no. That was what you said now. I just did the same thing. Sorry. I'm getting so excited. This is Nimrod, which is Chayv b'meiser, and this is Bedat. Okay. Oh, maybe that's good. I took the one of Nimrod, which is Chayv b'meiser. I gave him to the Kohen, right? Okay, very nice. And it's Chayv b'meiser. In order to, but why did I do that? In order to patter those. That's bad news. Why? Because really, I didn't do anything. It's an act like in the theater. Why? If I took something that's not chayv b'meiser, right? That is chayv b'meiser, sorry. What I'm trying to do is what? Is pater those that are already potter, right? That it's not really meiser. I took something trey from Nimrod, and he's not really a meiser. In other words, when I have the pile, this is dangerous, this is toxic, this is nuclear. These are all also to be eaten by Israel or a Kohen. The only time I take it and give it to a Kohen is only if it functions as meister. You only function as meister if you really motzi others that are chayiv, but you motzi those that are not chayiv. That's not like the 5 years old doing kiddush to me. It's like me doing kiddush to an Arab in hospital after I was yoytze. Brachol v'tol. It's the other way. Again, if those things, it's a bit harder to understand. If this is Nimrod and I gave it, it's okay. What's the problem? It's not okay because I gave it thinking. Let's ignore those. Let's ignore the other ones. They make it much easier. It's only this one and all the rest. Why did I give it to the guy, to the Kohen? Why? To be motzi those. But I'm not motzi those because they're yotze already. They're not chayiv anymore. Mimeli giving this is not functioning as meiser. Oh, if it doesn't function as meiser, then I just gave him a piece of tevel to eat. And now I'm machshil the Kohen. I can eat those. They're badats. I can munch on the entire bag and don't tell the dietitian or my wife. But Lamaisa here, I'm giving the Kohen something tevel, which tevel once doesn't function as meiser, stays regular tevel. So I'm machshil Mr. Kohen, my good friend, by eating tevel. He's not allowed to eat tevel either, the Kohen. So Mimela, How can it be so lenient? We're asking Rabbi Meir. If this was real Doraisa and not Dmai, would you have said the same thing? You're being too lenient over here, Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir, you promised us, or shall we say Shmuel and Rav Nachman promised us, that Rabbi Meir is Machmir the Rabanan, just like Doraisa. Here we see it's not the case. Because when you take different shapes and forms, and you're not taking into account that maybe one of them is from a Paltar, from an Amoritz, and the other one is from the Frum one, from the good one, that could cause into any of those problems. And you're ignoring that. So excuse me, Rabbi Meir, we see as Rabbi Meir is more lenient to the Rabanan than the Raisa, because this whole story happens in Mai. This is old Mai. We don't know who's getting it from. Bread still needs Meiser. The bread still, no. If Meiser wasn't taken from the wheat, it carries, ever happened you didn't pay a bill, after a few years, whatever, they don't die, they only increase. So if a person didn't pay his bills when it was a nice grain in the field, yeah, and then it carries until the oven, until forever. You always have to take Shabbos and Maestros, even if it's out of the oven, if that's what you meant. I wouldn't like a discussion.
Fruit, not fruit.
Wheat also. Wheat is Chayb Meister. I'm sorry. And if the wheat wasn't given when it was a nice pile of kernels, it wasn't. You ignored that. It keeps carrying all the chiyuvim all the way to the oven. Absolutely. I'd like to. Okay, actually, it's good time for questions. No. We have an official question time. I'm listening to you. I just want to add to the arrowhead of the question is Rabbi Meir is basically telling us, why can you take from one type to the other type? Why? We're not concerned about it. It's all probability. To say that one came from one bakery, the other one from the other bakery, maybe, but we're not concerned about it. When it comes to Jmai, we don't dig that deep. We don't think that far, and we say it's probably from the same place. We're not concerned that this is from the kibbutz and this is from Me'asharim. We assume they're both are the same or either. So just take Meiser in case they're both from Nimrod, and that's okay. Take Meiser and give that to the Kohen. The other 9 burekas you eat 9 quickly before anybody sees, and that's good. Okay, that's just the pinpoint of the thing. Leon, yeah. Now, this Gemara is a very, very, that's a unique Gemara that I saw maybe once more, maybe twice more in my life. Basically, what we're going to do now, and by the way, we're stuck with a question now. Where are we on the map now? Where are we? We're right now asking on Rabbi Meir, on those who interpreted Rabbi Meir to be Machmir the Rabanan. We see when it comes to the store of the bakery, this shape versus the other shape, Rabbi Meir seems to be lenient. Okay. Now, Abaye is going to do something very, very interesting. Omar Abaye. Line starts with a lachiyuv. What Abaye is going to do, Abaye is going to basically reread the whole sugya with all the names of the Amoraim. That's why I gave you the paper, which you may follow if you want. And Abaye is basically to use not nice English, he's gonna bash half the people in the sugya. Abaye is gonna show us how he has questions and challenges the opinions that said everything before him. Omar Abaye, not all of them, most of them. Omar Abaye says Abaye, Ablozo Shapir Kakashale. He starts with the first one. You can see in the paper that was Rab Lozer. What did Rab Lozer say? A question. Rab Lozer's question was, why is the Mishnah so strict on Chomish? Chomish to begin with is like a Doraisa stringency. The Dorabonon, which is they take the stringency to that level? That's a good question, says Abaye. However, why is Abaye giving him grades? Because now he's going to attack Shmuel. Shmuel quoted by Rav Nachman, which is the second stage. Loi shapir kamishani lei. The answer is not a good answer. Why? Where did Shmuel derive his information from? The story of an Eshes Ish. That may be an Eshes Ish with the Rabbanon, and if she remarries, her kids are mamzayirim lach. And you compare that to who? To eating truma, which is more severe. The Kashya Leilo Ablozo, I have a difficulty here because I know what Rab Lozer really had in mind. Misa dibidei shomayim. Rab Lozer, let's say it was Doraisa and Mezid. Let's take the Dmai in its worst form. Doraisa and Mezid. What's the worst it gets? Misa bidei shomayim. Bezin won't touch you with a pitchfork. You're a nice guy. Hashem will kill the person earlier than 60. He'll die at 55, 59, I don't know. Ubishani l'Shmuel misas Bezdin. And Shmuel compares it to get of a woman, a person who has relations with an Ashes Ish. What does he get? Chenek, Chanyoke. Get chenek, him and her, they get chenek. I'm not talking about Baskoy and Sreifa. I'm saying, get chenek, of course it's worth, or at least Dilma maybe entertain the thought, Dilma shani Mrs. Bezin the Chamira. Didn't you take into account that maybe Mrs. Bezin is worse, which means don't extrapolate from get to Meiser. What? Get is Misa Bidei Shomayim. It's one of the Gimel Averes Chamuras. I'm adding Misa Bidei Adam. Misa Bidei Adam Eshes Ish Rachmano Litzlon. There, of course, Rabbi Meir was super stringent on the Rabanan version of that. Befon enechta, he came from Yehupitzville without knowing. Mashe'enken over here, that's Misa B'dei Shemayim. To eat truma of a coin is bad news, but at worst, it's Misa B'dei Shemayim. How can you compare? How do you know that the same Rabbi Meir that's stringent over there would be stringent over here? Here, it's officially less stringent. The Isra Torah is less stringent, it's less chomu. The Rav Sheshes, back to stage, now continue to stage 3 in the chart. It's not a chart, it's a list. Continue to Rav Sheshes. Loi Shapir Kamoisivle. What did Rav Sheshes ask from? Pidyon. Rav Sheshes said, hey, Rabbi Meir, or is attacking Rav Nachman and Shmuel. Listen, why? You guys are telling me that Rav Meir is Machmir. Look, Rabbi Meir was Mekel. In what? What did you talk about, Rav Sheshes? Pidyon. You tell me, let's say the Pidyon doesn't work. Let's say I employ the Meiser Shen in a really messed up way. On a simon, and then I eat the fruit in the chemesh. What's the level of stringency? What's the level of chumrah of eating Meiser Sheni outside Yerushalayim? I'll be hit by a falling star. Superman will come or hit me. What's going to happen? What will happen to me? No. He's over be love. It's a very bad thing. A love which is not even nisi b'dei shamayim. It's regular love. Chayv malchus. Continue as the Gemara says better than me. The Kamri inhu they, which I disagree with, but at least I know that what they said, those who wanted to expand Rabbi Meir's opinion to what? To eating truma, misa. They said, when it comes to misa b'dei shamayim, which is eating truma, there Rabbi Meir says, even the Rabanan version is bad news, is the same. Oh, Moisev Rav Sheshes lav. Rav Sheshes is questioning from a lav. Lav is what? When a person is doing a regular lav, what is the chayiv? I can't talk anymore. A person is doing a regular run of the mill lav with Malchus, the peanut gallery, they have it. Malchus, at worst, if it was mazid, you get Malchus, no misa from nobody, not from Hashem, not from Beis Din. So how can you compare? The chtiv, where's the lav? Here it is. And it isn't Vormir Beis, I was right by mistake. You cannot eat, meaning spiritually you can't. You're not allowed to eat meiser outside Yerushalayim. That's it. I mean, it's bad, but it's not as bad as the other ones. How can you compare? Continues to the fourth stage, Abaye. Abaye is taking us all the way, hand in hand. But according to the question Rav Sheshes asked, which I don't like that question, Rav Yosef Shapir Kamishani Le. What was Rav Yosef's answer? Rav Yosef's answer said, no, again, we're talking about Rav Yosef was careful. Rav Yosef was mindful of the differences. And Rav Yosef says, don't get carried away. Could be the Rav Sheshes, Rabbi Meir is machmir in what? In eating, which is a real love, as opposed to pidyon, which is a level, the quality of pidyon is not as bad. So very good. Now, very nice. Abai gave us the whole sikkim of the sugya, and he has a lot to say. How is he answering the question of Ravina from the hot bread, cold bread, the triangle bread of Nimrod on the nice bread of Chaim Yalka Meshorim? How does he answer that? Ela Ravina. You want to know what the question that I have an answer to Ravina's question. Ad the Moisiv Minachtoim, instead of you, Ravina, attacking everybody else from the store of the Nachtom, what's a Nachtom? It's the bakery, your nice home, not home. It's your nice neighborhood bakery they bring from Angel, they bring from Berman, they bring from Nimrod, from Eshorim. You're asking from there, L'sayelami Paltar. I have a Mishnah that discusses Paltar. Who's the Paltar? That's the wholesaler. That's the wholesaler, of the bread, not the retailers. You see, even bread back then, without preservatives, went through at least 3 stations. It's very interesting. So what do we say from Paltar? It says over there, that's none. It says about Paltar, Alokech min a Paltar, a person who takes Dmai, by the way. from a palta, which is the wholesaler. And sometimes Yaakov people do buy from wholesalers. Yeah, it's cheaper, it's better. You have outlet. It's a word in Hebrew. Outlet. Aleph vav taf lamet tet. You know that word? It's a word in Hebrew. Chanut outlet. So it's together with all the other words. So let's say a person buys from the outlet of the bread, from the potter, the real wholesaler. Meiser min kol tfus v'tfus divrei Rabbi Meir. Says Rabbi Meir, oh, you got to be careful. You have to take meiser from where? From the round one separately, from the square one separately, from the swan-shaped separately, because we are concerned. Maybe this is from Nimrod and this is from Meshori. Maybe this is meiser, maybe that's what you said. We're not concerned about here. We are concerned about by the paltar. So that helps us, but that begs the question. Rabbi Meir is contradicting himself. Why was Rabbi Meir concerned in Dmai by the paltar, by the first guy, and was not concerned of different shapes of bread when it comes to the next one in line? That's Rabbi Meir against Rabbi Meir now. You know why that is? Paltar bitreit lasa gavra zabi. Nah, you got it all wrong. The paltar, the wholesaler, he buys some from Nimrod and some from Tel Aviv and some from Meshorim. He buys the best from each one. He doesn't discriminate. He loves everybody. And therefore, by him, Rabbi Meir is concerned, even when it's Dmai. Rabbi Meir sticks to his guns. Rabbi Meir is machmir in the Rabanan. When there's a real concern, when there's real technical, physical concern, because the paltar buys from kibbutz and from the Bnei Brak, and then we say, oh, then of course he's concerned, even in the Rabanan. Rabbi Meir, yes, was machmir in the Rabanan and Achila. Nachtom nami. You're asking me about Nachtom? Michad Gavo Zobin. You got it wrong. The Nachtom only buys from one person, which, by the way, is reality today. I don't know about other countries. If you notice it, in this country, the bakeries, they're always outlets of the big bakery, right? Nechama is only from Nechama, Angel, the very possessed, whatever, yeah. And therefore, and that's the situation here. So when I go to the Nachtom, which is like not the wholesaler, which is the nice home smaller bakery, they have round shape with mushrooms, with the strawberry. They're all from them. They're all from one guy that they buy, because technically there's no issue. That's what the Meir said. That's why I can take meiser from where? From the square to the round, to the shape, to the triangle, because they all came from one thing. They all came from either Nimrod or from Bnei Brak. Mimela, I can mix and match all of them together. So the meiser, we all close it very nicely. The Meir is definitely concerned about the Rabbanon Dmai being like the Raisa. So if I know that the guy is supermarket, different breads from different makes, so we don't know which one's which, I have to take meiser, and I will not take meiser from the round to the square. I'll treat each one differently, not do chiv tur. Then the Nachtom, we highly assume he almost always buys from one source, either kosher, non-kosher, not treat it as such. Rove Omar. Now Rove wants to defend some of the people that Abaye attacked along the way. Rave Omar, I can explain Shmuel. Shmuel Shapir Kamishanile. Stage 2 in the chart, was Shmuel / Rabbi Nachman quoting Shmuel. Rabbi Nachman was a good friend of Shmuel. He's telling me they're always together. Rabbi Nachman says B'Shem Shmuel what? Just like Rabbi Meir is machmir on get, he's machmir on what? On Truma. Why? Shem misa ba'olam. Death is death. Death ain't a nice thing. Nobody wants to die early. Most of us, what? Death is final. Yeah, it's usually the final story until Olam Haba. And death, whether it be the Odom or be the Shemayim, can be comparable. So Eshes Ish, as much as it's not in our psyche, but Eshes Ish can be compared to who? To eating Truma of a Kohen, being Israel. This is Misa be the Odom with Chenek, very gruesome and not nice, doesn't make a nice photo. But Lamaisa, death is death. If Hashem takes a person lane in a car accident at the age of 55, that ain't pretty either, kind of not nice. So at the end of the day, Rava says, I do hear that we can extrapolate, and just like Rabbi Meir Baget made Rabbanon as Chomer Daraisa, I can hear the expanding it to say by Truma also, and our Mishnah would be Rabbi Meir, and therefore Chomish would apply to Tumas Ma'aser Dmai, just like Chomish applies to Tumas Ma'aser Dmai. We got to the Mishnah. Good mood. I made it to the page 1025. Thank you very much. I'm nice now with questions. Yeah, even the Zoom people missed their questions. And of course, Ellen, where are you? Yes.
So if it only comes from one baker
Yeah.
and a customer comes in now, and he only wants to buy one loaf, right? Now
Oh,
it takes nicer from that one loaf.
Yes, because it's mine. I go to my bakery, and I know that bakery buys. That will make a difference between the sito, between the nachtom and the paltar. Why? Because one loaf is one loaf. It either came from Nimrod or from Bnei Brak. Then of course I take mine because it's mine. I always take mine. I'll take myself from the loaf, no problem. The only problem begins different batches. And you may mixing up the kosher with the non-kosher, being pattering, exempting the good from the non-good, that causes trouble. And in Echnami, then there will be a difference. If I go to the home bakery where they only get it from one source, you go to Nechama, I don't know, everything they sell there, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm saying all the breads and cakes I think come from Nechama Bakery. Yeah? You go to Angel's store in Yerushalayim, right? All the Angel stores, they used to, Yeshiva was near Angel's. You can smell it all the way. Everything in that small shop was Angel's, right? So they have, Angel may be kosher, not kosher. It's kosher, by the way. Even if Angel wasn't, I can, of course, take Meister from the round to the square. From the past, from the cake to the eclair. Because it's all one make, no problem, right? The problem is when I have one who mixes different sources, then remember I was concerned. Even if it's my, and he says, take each one separately because we are concerned in my, just like we're concerned in the Orais. Rabbi reads, okay, thank you very much. Have a great day. Atzlocha, nice to see you, Tzvi, even online. And Atzlocha, Rabbi.